Manchester United have made an art of overpaying for players, but this summer the fans won't care. A distant 6th place finish last year undersold how bad the Red Devils were, an 11-point gap separating them from Arsenal in 5th, and after successive defeats to start the current campaign, they had no choice but to go big, adding Casemiro to their midfield at a reported cost of £70 million. But the recruitment drive doesn't stop there. After haggling with Ajax all summer over Brazilian forward Antony, Erik ten Hag eventually pushed to bring in the winger, with a fee of close to €100 million, placing him among the most expensive players in history. So what is it about the 22-year-old that made his signing so necessary, especially with proven top league talent like Pedro Neto, Rafinha and Raheem Sterling available for about 2/3 of that price? On today's EFD Explained, we look at the youngster, his qualities and past imports from the Eredivisie to try and piece together exactly what United expected for their investment. While Lisandro Martinez has had a mixed beginning to his time in the Northwest, not so much being a square peg in a round hole as a very small square peg in a much bigger square hole, Antony could reasonably be expected to enjoy an easier transition. The forward is extremely one-footed, using his left for 89% of his actions according to FBref, but in this case that could be a virtue, with no lefties among United's current attacking options. That means that if he plays, and at 100 million he kind of has to, he's going to feature on the right, fixing a problem zone for the club, with Sancho their only attacker comfortable operating off that flank, Ronaldo, Rashford and Martial all preferring to drift over to the left. He also brings pedigree in front of goal and a nice balance of shooting and passing threat. In 47 starts in the Eredivisie, he's racked up 32 goals and assists, and last year bagged another 7 in 7 appearances in the Champions League, though Ajax did face easy fixtures, with Sporting CP, Borussia Dortmund and Besiktas in the group stage, before going out to Benfica in the second round. Nonetheless, you can only play what's in front of you, and the raw numbers are about as good as you could reasonably expect. Across domestic and European competition, Antony displayed a consistent ability to get his own chances and lay them on for teammates, averaging over 4 shots per 90 minutes and around 2 key passes. That's exceptional. For context, it's about the same as Salah managed in the Prem last year. But, inevitably, there are question marks too. About half of Antony's shots come from outside the box, not a huge issue but a part of his game which would likely need to be refined in a division where possession is harder to come by. And it's worth noting that his goal output, which is already good, not great, is partially a product of overperformance. Last year, his 12 goals and assists in the Eredivisie came from 10.5 xG, and those 7 contributions in the UCL came from 3.9, with his teammates turning 6.6 expected assists into 9 actual assists. So even if Antony is unusually skilled at shooting, he still benefited from his colleagues finishing at an unusually high clip. That's a reason to be cautious with these stats. But is he a gifted finisher? At the very least, it's possible. Here's a chart from StatsBomb courtesy of James York on Twitter, and as you can see, Antony has an area he loves to shoot from, what we could term the Robin zone. This is not the ideal place to be taking aim. Most goals are scored from inside the area, with over 85% of all Eredivisie strikes last year coming from under 18 yards out, and almost 87% in the Prem. But you can also see that Antony converted at a high rate, turning under 12 xG into 18 actual goals, and with 5 of those coming from range, almost double the league average. That could be luck, bad goalkeeping, or it could be that Antony has perfected one particular kind of finish. If it's the latter, that's a huge reason to pick him up. Plus finishers are rare, but there's no way of knowing until you've dropped EFL playoff money on him. On the ball, again it's a mixed bag. Since he switched to Ajax, the Sao Paulo native has racked up over 2 dribbles every game, which seems strong, but over the last 24 months, his success rate is only 57%, which is a little low in such a weak competition. Given the Eredivisie is known for some freestyle defending, you wonder if the transition to the Prem would knock that success rate down to the point that Antony is a net negative when running with the ball, and the small sample from last year's Champions League might back that view up. The Brazilian dropping to 1.5 take-ons per 90, just 38% of those he attempted, ranking in the bottom 3% of wingers across Europe. To some degree, you expect wide men to lose the ball a lot. They're constantly trying to do the hardest thing on the field, get into the danger zone, but you earn the right to a few dispossessions if you're good enough to balance that out. So being wasteful means Antony needs to contribute a lot to be plus. After all, this is a guy who gives up possession nearly 4 times a game, and that's something United can ill afford, having had 52% of the ball last year. Not nearly good enough for Ten Hag's needs, the coach's Ajax sides generally retaining over 60% of possession. We are being a little harsh here, the alleged price tag demands it, but we don't want to give the impression that we don't rate Antony, especially as he'd be acquainted with what Ten Hag wants and have the requisite fitness levels to execute it, something Ten Hag reportedly raised with Old Trafford bigwigs in his initial interview. But we also have to look at the context to get the full picture. What can we learn about this move from other Eredivisie transplants? With top teams getting smarter about who they buy and the wealth of mid-level clubs making it incredibly expensive to take players from even the lowest reaches of the Prem, we're seeing more and more big buys from leagues previously seen as unreliable sources of talent, primarily the Portuguese top flight and the Eredivisie. Over the last 3 years, 10 players have left the Netherlands for north of £20 million, and 6 for over 30, but the list is a real mix of hits and misses. Some of those are attributable to team fit or instability, like De Jong or De Ligt, but others have been straightforward busts, like Davy Klaassen or Steven Bergwijn. And no matter how well Ten Hag knows Antony, the Brazilian has the potential to flop in the Prem too. Across his time with Ajax, the 22-year-old has scored or assisted every 115 minutes, which sounds elite. But it should be noted that David Neres, who helped the club to the Champions League semis in 2018-19, bagged 66 in 73 starts for a contribution every 109 minutes. He left Amsterdam for Shakhtar in January and now is at Benfica, while Kasper Dolberg, also a key part of that side, has netted 12 goals in the last 2 seasons with Nice and dropped from 4 shots a game to 2 after exiting the Johan Cruyff Arena. Likewise, Steven Bergwijn profiled as a special attacker in his early days at PSV, at his best hitting 3 shots, 3 dribbles and 3 chances created a match, with StatsBomb's figures putting him in the top 1% of players for expected goals assisted. After landing in London, he dropped to 1 shot, 1 key pass and 1.6 take-ons a game, falling into the bottom quarter of players in his position for expected assists and crucially spending most of his time out of the lineup, stifling his development. What if this happens to Antony at 3 times the price? Even a coach who knows and loves the player is no guarantee of a favourable outcome, as United have seen themselves, watching Louis van Gaal bring in Memphis Depay from Eindhoven after success together with the national team, only to see the forward parked on the bench when the going got tough. So Ten Hag has to be super sure he has a banker in Antony and needs to persist with the youngster if he doesn't immediately catch fire on English shores, something which will be hard to do if results put the manager under pressure from fans and the club hierarchy. The positive news is that Antony is young and still growing as a player, so unlike, say, Hakim Ziyech's Chelsea transfer, it doesn't matter if it takes a while to see the best from him, so long as he's getting regular game time, and he's likely to have another level to go to, with most forwards making a big leap in production somewhere between 22 and 24. And when talents out of the Netherlands are given time, they can shine, as Depay himself proved, resurrecting his career in spectacular fashion with Lyon, bagging 121 goal involvements in 134 league appearances in France and Spain since he left Old Trafford. If Antony can find that level straight away and make good on his output in the Champions League, where he constantly created danger in the final third, showcased great defensive effort, and an amazing ability to drive his team upfield, Manchester United will have a world-class attacker on their hands and the makings of an elite forward line for the 5 years Ten Hag expects his project to take. If they've got it wrong, they'll be a laughingstock and will have thrown away an historic fee on an historic flop. We can't wait to find out which it'll be. So that's our take on Antony's move to Manchester United, but what do you think of the Brazilian? Will he soar or will he flop? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.